Hi, my name is Paul Medina. I'm a visual artist from Oklahoma City. I'm from Oklahoma City and I've spent most of my life here working as a visual artist, doing my own artwork in my own studio. I'm one of the artists that will be participating in the Oklahoma City Arts Council's new venture, their virtual art lessons that we're putting together for young people during this period of time where we can't get out very well and very often like we used to. And so I hope you can round your kiddies up, your kids, and maybe we can have some really good times talking and doing art classes on the internet. A little bit about myself. I've been a visual artist probably almost going on 50 years. I started when I was really young and never really stopped. Art was not only a way to express myself, but it also helped me through, some hard times that, like all kids have. It was a safe place to land. It was a safe place to go and just envelop yourself in things other than maybe some of the hard times or the bad things that were going on in my life at the time. I think a lot of young children find ways to do such things. I was fortunate that I had art to do it, and I look back at it and I know it helped me a great deal. I consider myself a series artist, meaning that I change imagery and materials in working and doing my art. Occasionally, I'll work with, let's say, a certain type of imagery using certain types of materials for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then I'll kind of get bored with it, or I feel like I can communicate better trying to do it in another way. So I'll shift my imagery and my materials um, uh, and do another body of work. So I go from one body of work to the next. Um, I have worked that way all of my life. It may not be the conventional way or the traditional way that a lot of artists work. A lot of artists will work for a long time to develop one type of imagery and they stay with it for most of their life. I've never really been able to do that, so I like to go from from clay to metal to paintings to acrylic and oil and and everything in between. I've within the past 10 years I wrote two children's books and illustrated them. You can pick them up on Amazon.com. But so I'm kind of like to do a variety of things. I don't skip quickly from one thing to the other, but it is something that I enjoy. It is a part of my art making process to kind of stumble. I appreciate and I really love the struggle of learning new materials, doing new imagery, and so it kind of keeps my energy and my interest up in what I do as an artist. Well over uh, uh, 40 years ago, 45 years ago, I deemed myself what I call a gallery artist, and that is somebody that goes and tries to get representation uh, with galleries, and then try to do shows every year. And so what a gallery artist does is they prepare a body of work to do a specific show, and kind of once that's done you kind of start over. I did that for all through the mid to late 80s through the 90s, and I enjoyed it. I burned up a lot of rubber on the road. I got to a point where I was doing anywhere from 4 to 6 to 7 shows a year. Um, I enjoyed that lifestyle for a while, but as I was getting a little older and my daughter was getting growing up, I kind of cut back and kind of shifted my direction on how to live my life as an artist. There's not just one way to be an artist. You kind of choose the way that you want to go and feel that you can feel comfortable in and still produce what you want. And so that's what I did. And so now I spend most of my time in my own studio. I built my own studio about 13 years ago, 14 years ago. It's in my backyard, and I'll maybe show you a little bit about what that looks like in a little bit. But I spend a lot of time out here. I do shows. I occasionally will do a show here in Oklahoma City or Tulsa or in the region, but mostly I just produce and sell out of my own studio space. I have a lot of people coming in and out of my studio looking for new work, which I'm thankful for. Um, in town, I will do a few shows here and there, mostly group shows. I do have a one person show that's coming up in the early summer of next year at Art Space, the gallery at Untitled, that's downtown. I'm really, really looking forward to that. Right now, as an artist, what I'm doing right now is that I'm working in clay. I've worked in clay for a long, long time, but only as small elements within the context of a mixed media uh, art piece. But right now you can see a little bit of this is not finished behind me, but these totems, these clay pieces that I'm doing right now is what I'm really, really involved in and will be the bulk or the main aspect of the show that I'm going to be having next year. It's a big space, and so I'm working really hard on putting together some large, impressive pieces for such a beautiful space. Um, I would say probably about 25 years ago, I got a call from Robbie Kenzel. We all know who she is. I thank her regularly about turning me on to a opportunity to create an art program for young people that address the social ills and problems that they have, to develop an art program that is not your typical art program, but it is also, yes, we do a lot of art, but the goal of using the art is to use it as a vehicle to address the problems that young people face every day. I worked for an organization called Youth Cornerstone. Debbie Forshey was the director at the time. She took a chance on me, and that's been 25 years ago. And fortunately for me, I have been funded to go into schools, and right now I'm primarily in elementary schools, but originally I worked in the DHS facilities for a long time. At one point in time, I was working with some of the most at-risk children in Oklahoma County. I find that somewhat to be true now. Um, when I started going into elementary schools, I was wondering how different the kids would be from the DHS facilities and um, into elementary school, and I realized to my chagrin is that the only difference was that the kids in the elementary schools had not been identified as being in at risk as the kids that were already incarcerated, which was kind of a sad state of affairs for me. But the goal of the program was to uh, create an ambiance in a class and a rapport with the children where they can use the arts to address the important issues that we believe that all kids should know about it and understand it. And so for the last 25 years, if I wasn't in my studio, I've been working with a group of kids. Um, I started out in DHS and then I went into high school and in middle school, but I found my niche, I think, with my age group that I really love to work with is third, fourth, and fifth grade. I found that when I worked with the kids in high school, what I was trying to do and what my approach wasn't I wasn't able to connect with the teenagers like I can with my elementary kids. Um, I I have been fortunate that first of all I really like kids. I enjoy their company, not always, but I really enjoy the process that I have with the kids in the schools. Um, but once you get into a class, my classes in school, which the Arts Council of Oklahoma City um, uh, funds and helps me stay in those schools too, um, I find that the way to approach these children is to get down on their level and talk to them in ways that they can relate to. Um, every project that we do is I put a real purpose more than just making art into each project. Like just an example, we'll do a poster about empathy and try to explain the term empathy to them to where they, on their level and in their circumstance, can understand what that is. And we might have a poster contest where all of my classes will do that, and we'll hang them up in the schools and have a little party afterwards to see who did their best. Um, so it's the program that I'm doing for the art. I mean, in the elementary schools right now, is not just an art for art's sake program. Although they learn a lot of fundamentals of art in it, the important thing is to generate a lot of conversation, which we do. Uh, there, I try to approach them with a certain amount of respect and a certain amount of dignity, that are their opinions are just as important as mine, and really the thing that really holds it all together is that I try to make it as fun as I possibly can. I mean, that's the big thing, is to make them feel comfortable where they can communicate with me. It's amazing. Maybe the parents would kind of be freaking out a little bit, but I get to a point where these kids will tell me almost everything. And of course, part of my program and my job in working with young people is to red flag things. There are sometimes kids will communicate with me about things that are bothering them, that I feel are so important that I will go to the counselor with them. Um, it could be anything from abuse to, a family death or bullying, those kinds of things. Um, because I get to know the kids um, real well, um, I can tell usually when it is something that's really important or if they're just complaining about something. Um, Mostly we work within the schools with the young people. Um, they're real simple projects anybody can do, and that's kind of the approach that I'm going to be taking with these virtual art classes. Uh, I'm not so much going to be going into the social issues that I do in the schools. I'm going to try to keep them just mostly on uh, just kind of techniques and uh, hoping to guide them to a way that they can uh, uh, learn how to visualize things in their heads and hopefully broaden their scope of what they can do. Um, it'll be a little bit different program within the context of these new um, virtual art classes. It's going to be mostly just art, but not necessarily. Um, I'm not going to be teaching color wheels. I will be teaching shortcuts on how they can visualize things in their head and help them learn to draw better. So it's a little bit different, maybe, than a lot of different art programs that you may have heard of, or maybe your kids have been involved in. But I must say that I have a good reputation. I've been working in the schools for a very, very long time. I'm kind of on a waiting list. There are people that want the program. As I've gotten older, I've kind of cut back on how many classes that I want to do a year. Right now, I'm doing 12 and in different schools, and 12 a week, and I feel real comfortable about that. Again, sorry about the messy studio. I somehow can't work any other way. I've tried, but I just can't. Um, anyway, thanks for stopping in. I want to thank the Arts Council, the opportunity to work virtually online. I've never done that before. I've done a lot of interviews and stuff like that, but nothing like this before. So there's going to be a learning curve for me. Um, my hope is that the kids that have been going to school in the elementary school that I teach and every other school I go to, that during this period of time where we have a lot of time on our hands during the day for the foreseeable future, that they have yet another great place to come and be creative with artists, young and old, that enjoy the company of young people and uh, would like to share what they know and pass it on to the children of Oklahoma City or Oklahoma County. Oh, heck, across the United States. I guess this is going to be up for on the internet. But anyway, again, my name is Paul Medina. If you have any questions or concerns or what have you, get in touch with the Arts Council. I can be more than happy to conference call you or what have you to talk about the program. Um, I'm looking really, really forward to the this process, and I hope that I can bring what I do in the school on a one-to-one with a variety of children that are just wanting to fill their day to day with some beauty and some imagination and some curiosity.